Yes, and welcome back to the SportZone show. I've now got my regular Can Do FM colleague Dave Nixon on Zoom. This is the first time that myself and Dave have communicated via Zoom, so we can both see how handsome we both are over the screen. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm all right, Tony. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Right, Dave. So we've been talking recent weeks about the League One criteria. I believe that's going to be published very shortly, and it's going to have the usual stuff in it, isn't it, about grounds and facilities and attendances and community programs. So I think that puts Barrow in pretty good stead to be the club chosen to go into the Championship. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think, obviously, I think Barrow should go into the Championship. Of all the clubs, we have the best, we're the best supported. But I also think there is a little problem with the ground, in that the ground is an old ground. There's nothing wrong with it, but the RFL seem to like new grounds, no matter who owns them, how viable they are, what the atmosphere is, etc., etc. So I think that's the only little thing that I have. Also, apart from the fact that I think it's between Barrow and Newcastle, and they might see Newcastle as a development area and go there because they can say, oh, look, we're spreading the word. You know, we've now got a presence in the Championship in the Northeast. But Newcastle, they don't own their own ground. You can't watch the game from four sides there, and the crowds are nothing like what Barrow get.
No, that's some of the things that are in Barrow's favours, obviously, Dave, is the average attendance, probably the best in League One. The community programmes that are run, and we spoke to Dennis Fay and Shona Hartley the other week they advised us the fantastic programmes that they're running. And the financial status of the club at the moment that Steve Neal told us was the best it had been for some time.
Yeah, well, I think the community programme, you know, as you said, we were talking to Dennis and Shona. I mean, is absolutely excellent, and I'm chairman of the Community Foundation, and it's going from strength to strength, and I think it's probably going to be one of the best in the rugby league world. Shona, especially, is doing a tremendous job, backed by the board. It has to be said that the board initiated this, and they are backing it to the hilt. And I can only see this progressing, and as I've said, become one of the best in the rugby league world.
Yeah. Now, another thing that's on a lot of supporters' minds is when they can get back into Craven Park and start watching matches. Now, I know the season are sort of finished, but there's a possibility of some friendlies coming up, probably just after Christmas. So Oliver Dowden, the minister in charge of sport, he's suggesting today that there are going to be crowds, possibly less, in a controlled manner in January. So there's no reason why Barrow can't let crowds in January, is there?
No, well, Steve Neal said that he would like to, before the season starts, which will probably be March, I would think, end of March, he would like to have, if he could, a couple of friendlies. Now, obviously, if we can get crowds in January/February, that's going to be a bit of a fillip for the finances. And I don't see any reason why. I mean, a ground like Craven Park, which has had in the dim and distant past 20,000 in, can't take 1,000. In fact, in my view, you could have 1,000 people in there, all bring in their bed and still be socially distanced. So I don't think it's a problem for clubs like Barrow and any other clubs in our league, and even in most of the Championship grounds.
Yeah, there are supporters allowed into a number of non-league grounds. For example, Workington Reds. There's about 400 attend their games at the moment. So even if there are restrictions, Dave, you know, even could get a few hundred in, it's something, as you say, to the finances, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there were 40,000 watching the last State of Origin on Wednesday. So why we can't have up to 1,000 in Craven Park is beyond me. You know, as long as it's safe and as long as the government are letting crowds back in, and they're going to be far bigger crowds, even in even at Barrow Soccer. There's going to be bigger crowds at the moment than there are at Craven Park. So if they're letting crowds back into football, they have to let them back into rugby league.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Super League is coming to a conclusion at the moment. And I think tonight and tomorrow, the two semi-finals, it's St Helens versus Catalan Dragons, and it's Wigan versus Hull FC. Catalans have been hit with a major issue this week when two of their star players, Joel Tompkins and Mike McAlorum, have been suspended for about 8 games. So I can't see them winning at St Helens. Can you?
No, I can't see many teams winning at St Helens. I think St Helens have to have an off day for anybody to beat them. I think they are still by far the best team in the Super League. So I see Catalans being competitive for a while, but I think in the end, St Helens are going to win it quite easily.
Well, the other week there, I watched Wigan St Helens on the TV, Dave, and Wigan had, I think they had St Helens in their pocket.
Yeah, but there's a lot riding on these games now. I think Wigan Saints will be very, very competitive, but I can't in the final. If Wigan and Saints are the finalists, I personally can't see Wigan beating St Helens at the moment.
And the Rugby League seems to be clamping down on what we would call foul play now. I mean, Tommy Makinson, yeah, I think he got 8 games, didn't he? And these two guys have also got 8 games. I mean, they're not messing about, are they?
No, I think they need to get good press, don't they? It's like the attacks to the head. In days gone by, it wasn't really clamped down on. And I think now it has been. I think McAlorum, the Wigan hooker, was particularly stupid in what he did and fully deserves 8 matches. Somebody goes down injured and somebody else, he could have damaged his neck, like Alex Walmsley did, and a couple of other players have had neck injuries. And he goes to pull him up, as if to say, come on, there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, it's absolute stupidity. I mean, if I'd have been the chairman, he'd have had a nice whacking fine as well. There's no need to do it. Just walk away, leave the guy alone.
Well, hopefully these strict penalties and that, Dave, will deter, players doing that in the future. Obviously, the sport's tough enough without, as you say, stupid things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think also Rugby League has set the standard for the other code as well. Rugby League, has been for the last couple of seasons really strict on anything touching the head, and Rugby Union have followed our example as well. And it only makes it, better, have a better profile, a better image for kids coming in, boys and girls coming in at the bottom end, of the community game, wanting to play, if they're getting that protection from having their heads knocked off.
Absolutely. Well, look, we'll leave it there, Dave. It's been our first Zoom. I think it's gone well, and I'll let you get on now because I know I think you've got to take the missus to a garden centre, haven't you?
I have, yeah, Andrew, mate. But you should be finishing this show now, Tony, with Aretha Franklin playing Who's Zooming Who.
Absolutely. All right, Dave. Well, hopefully we'll be back in the studio soon. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll have another chat next week.
Yeah, you and everybody else, Tony. Stay safe.